Mary, Princess Royal-born Victoria Alexandra Alice Mary on the 25th of April, 1897 at York Cottage on the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk, during the reign of her great-grandmother Queen Victoria. Mary was a member of the British royal family. She was the only daughter of King George V and Queen Mary, the sister of Kings Edward VIII and George VI, and aunt of Elizabeth II. Her father George V was the only surviving son of the King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra, while her mother Mary was the eldest child and only daughter of the Francis, Duke of Teck and Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge, a granddaughter of King George III. She was known by the last of her Christian names, Mary. At the time of her birth, she was fifth in the line of succession preceded by her grandfather, father, and elder brothers Edward and Albert, though would later move down the line after the births of her younger brothers Henry, George, and John. Her grandfather ascended the throne in 1901 when Mary was 3 years old. Princess Mary was educated by governesses, but shared some lessons with her brothers, Edward, Albert, and Henry. She became fluent in German and French, and developed a lifelong interest in horses and horse racing. Her first state appearance was at the coronation of her parents, King George V and Queen Mary at Westminster Abbey on the 22nd of June, 1911, during World War I. Princess Mary visited hospitals and welfare organizations with her mother, assisting with projects to give comfort to British servicemen and assistance to their families. One of these projects was Princess Mary's Christmas Gift Fund, through which a total of £100,000 worth of gifts was sent to serving British soldiers and sailors for Christmas, 1914, the equivalent of £12.1 million in 2023 when adjusted for inflation. She took an active role in promoting the Girl Guide movement, the VADs, and the Land Girls. In June 1918, following an announcement in The Gentlewoman, she began a nursing course at Great Ormond Street Hospital, working 2 days a week in the Alexandra ward. In 1918 she was appointed Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Scots, this honour being bestowed by her father, the King. On the 20th of November, 1918, Princess Mary became the first member of the royal family to visit France following the armistice. She visited centres associated with Queen Alexandra's Imperial Military Nursing Service or Voluntary Aid Detachment units, and hospitals with wounded soldiers. While visiting Ypres she spotted 2 soldiers from the Royal Scots. It transpired that the entire regiment was stationed there, and a march past and parade of the regiment's 17th Battalion was arranged. During her visit to Le Treport, she rode in a whippet tank, which the Yorkshire Evening Post described as a great experience. In the period leading up to her marriage, girls and women in the British Empire named Mary or its variants, including Marie, May and Miriam, banded together to form the Marys of the Empire, and donated money toward a wedding present. She presented this fund to the Girl Guides Association for the purchase of the estate of Foxlease, and following the exhibition of her wedding presents, she also contributed half the proceeds to the same cause, for upkeep, a total of £10,000, which enabled the project to go ahead. She became honorary president of the British Girl Guide Association in 1920, a position she held until her death. In 1921, the princess became the first patron of the Not Forgotten Association. The charity's first Christmas tea party was organised by Mary and held at St James's Palace in 1921 when she invited 600 wounded servicemen for afternoon tea, and the event has been held annually ever since. In the 1920s, she was a patron of the Leeds Triennial Musical Festival. On the 28th of February, 1922, Princess Mary married Viscount Lascelles, the elder son of the 5th Earl of Harewood, and his wife, Lady Florence Bridgeman, daughter of the 3rd Earl of Bradford of Weston Park. The bride was 24 years old, while the groom was 39. Their wedding was held at Westminster Abbey, and attracted large crowds along the route to Buckingham Palace. The ceremony was the first royal wedding to be covered in fashion magazines, including Vogue. The bride's gown was designed by Messrs. Reville and featured emblems of Britain and India. It was the first royal occasion in which Lady Elizabeth Beausleon, a friend of Princess Mary, participated, as one of the bridesmaids. She later married Mary's brother, Prince Albert, and became Queen Consort of the United Kingdom upon his accession in 1936. Princess Mary and Lord Lascelles had 2 sons, George Lascelles, 7th Earl of Harewood, born on the 7th of February, 1923, the Honourable Gerald Lascelles, born on the 21st of August 1924. The princess and her husband had homes in London, Chesterfield House, Westminster, and in Yorkshire, first Goldsborough Hall, and later Harewood House. While at Goldsborough Hall, Princess Mary had internal alterations made by the architect Sidney Kitson to suit the upbringing of her two children and instigated the development of formal planting of beech hedge-lined long borders from the south terrace looking for a quarter of a mile down an avenue of lime trees. The limes were planted by her relatives as they visited the hall throughout the 1920s, including her father, King George, and mother, Queen Mary. After becoming the Countess of Harewood upon the death of her father-in-law, Princess Mary moved to Harewood House and took a keen interest in the interior decoration and renovation of the Lascelles family seat, in farming pursuits. Princess Mary also became an expert in cattle breeding and was on the board of trustees of the Royal Agricultural Society of England, of which her husband had been president. In 1925 she received the Silverfish Award, Girl Guiding's highest adult honor, in recognition of her contribution to the movement. In 1926, Princess Mary became the Commandant-in-Chief of the British Red Cross detachments. The princess and her son, George Lascelles, 7th Earl of Harewood, were patrons of the Yorkshire Symphony Orchestra, which had played at soirees at their home, Harewood House. Attending these concerts was the orchestra's co-founder, Richard Noel Middleton, who was on friendly terms with the princess. Middleton's wife, Olive, was a member of the princess's fundraising committee for the Leeds General Infirmary. Olive's first cousin was fellow committee member Eleanor G. Lupton, who reportedly launched the fundraising appeal in 1933. The committee's vice presidents included the princess's sister-in-law, the Honourable Mrs. Edward Lascelles, who served alongside Olive Middleton, and her relative, Jessie Beatrice Kitson. Princess Mary became patron of the Leeds Infirmary in 1936. On 6 October, 1929, Lord Lascelles, who had been created a Knight of the Garter upon his marriage, succeeded his father as 6th Earl of Harewood, Viscount Lascelles, and Baron Harewood. In 1931, she was appointed patron of the Yorkshire Ladies' Council of Education. She was also patron of the Girls' Patriotic Union of Day Schools. On 1 January, 1932, George V declared that his only daughter should bear the title Princess Royal, succeeding her aunt Princess Louise, Duchess of Fife, who had died a year earlier. The Princess Royal was particularly close to her eldest brother, the Prince of Wales, known as David to his close family, who subsequently became Edward VIII upon the death of their father in 1936. After the abdication crisis, she and her husband went to stay with the former Edward VIII, by then created Duke of Windsor, at Enzesfeld Castle near Vienna. Later, in November 1947, by the 1940s, Princess Mary was attending the opening nights and many of the festival's performances, as was her son, George, and his wife, the Countess of Harewood, née Marion Stein, a former concert pianist. In the first half of the 20th century, she occasionally rode with the Bramham Moor Hunt. Lord Harewood was master of the hunt, and entertained many horse racing enthusiasts at Harewood House parties for the race events at Wetherby and York. On 1942, Princess Royal Mary became the president of Papworth Hospital, after the death of her younger brother George, the Duke of Kent. At the outbreak of World War II, the Princess Royal became Chief Controller and later Controller Commandant of the Auxiliary Territorial Service, renamed the Women's Royal Army Corps in 1949. In that capacity, she travelled across the country, visiting its units, as well as wartime canteens and other welfare organisations. The Princess Royal became Air Chief Commandant of Princess Mary's Royal Air Force Nursing Service in 1950, and received the honorary rank of General in the British Army in 1956. Also, in 1949, the 10th Gurkha Rifles were renamed the 10th Princess Mary's Own Gurkha Rifles in her honour. After her husband's death in 1947, the Princess Royal lived at Harewood House with her elder son and his family. She became the Chancellor of the University of Leeds in 1951, and continued to carry out official duties at home and abroad. Princess Royal Mary allegedly declined to attend the wedding of her niece, Princess Elizabeth, to Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten, as the Duke of Windsor had not been invited. She gave ill health as the official reason for her non-attendance. In March 1953, she cut short her tour of the West Indies and, before returning to London, made a surprise diversion to New York, where she met with the Duke of Windsor, Edward VIII, and Duchess Wallis Simpsons. She posed for photographs with them before she and the Duke boarded the ship they travelled on to visit their ailing mother, Queen Mary. She attended the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in June 1953, and later represented the Queen at the independence celebrations of Trinidad and Tobago in 1962, and Zambia in 1964. One of her last official engagements was to represent the Queen at the funeral of Queen Louise of Sweden in early March 1965. The Princess Royal visited her brother, the Duke of Windsor Edward VIII, at the London Clinic in March 1965, while he recovered from recent eye surgery. The princess also met his wife, the Duchess of Windsor, one of the Duchess's few meetings with her husband's immediate family to take place. In 1958 she became the president of the Guide Club. On the 28th of March, 1965, the Princess Royal had a fatal heart attack during a walk with her elder son, Lord Harewood, and his children in the grounds of the Harewood house estate. Mary was 67 years old. She was buried next to her husband in the Lascelles family vault at All Saints' Church, Harewood, after a private family funeral at York Minster. A memorial service was held at Westminster Abbey, London. Her will was sealed in London after her death with her estate valued at £347,626, or £8.5 million in 2023 when adjusted for inflation. 6 British monarchs reigned during Princess Mary's lifetime: Victoria, her great-grandmother; Edward VII, her grandfather; George V, her father; Edward VIII and George VI, her brothers; and Elizabeth II, her niece. She is typically remembered as an uncontroversial figure of the royal family. During the British Mandate of Palestine, a major street in Jerusalem next to the Old City was called Princess Mary Street. After the creation of Israel, the street name was changed to Queen Shlomzion Street, to commemorate the Jewish queen. In December 2012, some of the princess's belongings were sold in Harewood, collecting in the royal tradition, an auction organized by Christie's.